Hey, it's Joe Glines, my automator. In today's Hero call, a Hero member, Ray, was demonstrating using Chain GPT, I think it's called, or GPTchain. And he was demonstrating how he had created a JSON string of events, basically, of different things, steps to do. And I'm not knocking what he was showing. It's a cool overall thing, but we were trying to explain to him with the rclaud class using API calls, you can do all this and more because it's very, very flexible. So Isaias gave him a quick walkthrough of how to do some basic queries with our API class and AutoHotkey, of course. You do need to get yourself a token, a ChatGPT token, and you pay per token each use. You don't have to pay the $20 a month or $30 a month or whatever the price is. You pay per token use, and it's usually very inexpensive overall. And you can ask it questions, get responses. You can take that option to do something else. We show a lot of different stuff in it, so enjoy the video. I just extracted it from the call and hope you consider checking out the Hero call. This is where we all share, and Ray was giving us a good example of what he does, and I liked a lot of the steps, but if you need more flexibility, that's where with AutoHotkey we build our own steps, and we can change them very easily without uploading files and having to go back and change things. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
In a dark room, and I don't have my glasses on, and I'm trying to feel my way here through this. Here's an API, and it's got certain property that and I dimly understand.
Yeah, but my point, Ray, is that's why I'm trying to steer you in the right direction, and I'm trying to hold your hand over to say, hey, here's the table, here's the light switch. You don't need to know APIs for using our object. You need to know classes. Okay. We use the API, but we kind of mask that where you don't have to understand the API call itself.
Right.
You have to understand the high-level concepts. I need to send it something, I need to get something back, but you don't need to know too much more about the API stuff.
Exactly. Let me do this part and you will see what happens right away. All right. I'm just simplifying this example because this has a lot of data in it. So we can comment this out. Okay, so now here's the user. Ray, give me a question that you might want to have, that you have for AI. Anything, whatever you want to ask it right now.
Not what is an API. You could though, but that's a fair question, right?
Good. Find evidence, find news reports in the last 3 weeks.
Let's simplify it a little bit more, because now this is one of the reasons why AI is so complex is because you see something that is easy for you, find sources of whatever. That for AI means using a new tool like the searching of the web searching, right? And that's a totally different topic. Let's ask a question. How tall is the Empire State? Okay. How tall is the Empire State? So we have to start easy. Now, when you're using the class that we're referring to, right? There's 4 steps that you have to do. One of them is include the class. That's the first thing. Second of all is authenticate. Those 2 things go hand in hand. As soon as you include the library, you should authenticate. The way how we authenticate on the API is with a token. That token, I have it in an ini file right now so that it is not visible here. But basically, this just reads that token and it would just give me a number, a weird number. That's what I'm going to send to this right here. And that will try to authenticate for me.
Is that the thing, the secret key thing that I get?
Yes, that's the token that they give you on the website, right? Okay. Now, in my case, I have it in an ini file so that if I'm sharing my screen, I don't accidentally show my token, but you can as well just put the token number in there, copy paste it. We don't really recommend that. because of what we just said. Somebody can look at the file and just have your token. So in this case, and in my case, if I'm sharing my screen, it's visible. I don't want that. That's the reason why you see this ini read in there, but it is not needed. You just have to pass the token. Now, if the authentication is not valid, it would just stop right there because I couldn't authenticate. But if it is valid, it will not stop. It will continue down. Now, here's where it becomes here's where the API class comes into play. This OpenAI is the class. Notice how when I hover over it, it says class OpenAI. Now that class allows me to perform multiple actions. One of the actions that I can do is chat, okay? So with the OpenAI bot, I can chat with it. Two things I have to pass. One of them is the model that I'm talking to, because I can switch those, can switch the model. And the second part is the messages array. So the messages array is just a group of messages, which are just simply objects. And this is the part that is a little bit tricky at the beginning, but after you understand it, it gets easy over time. But basically, for the user, which is you, Ray, we're sending the contents of a message, which are a piece of text. And that text is this, all right? That's what it is, right? Now, it looks a little bit messy because it's an object, but after a while, you can create this object automatically. You don't have to write it like this. I'm just doing that for the example.
And Ray,
yeah, go ahead.
Just want to clarify, because he was mentioning it, the other thing you weren't here, Zayas. Can you expand that?
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully you realize that is the JSON object that I was talking about. We're giving it JSON.
Right.
Yes. That's a JSON string, really. That part right here. The point is that you can send multiple JSON objects. You can send multiple messages.
Right.
That's the reason why we're putting it in an array, because they can be multiple of those. But for now, I'm just sending one. All of that gets kind of like packed into this variable called messages. And that's what I'm going to send to AI. So I'm telling it, with the OpenAI class, I want to chat with GPT-4 Turbo, and these are the messages that I'm sending to it. Do you see how simple it looks?
It does look simple.
It's very simple. Now, here at the top, look, for the OpenAI bot, I want to authenticate with it. It's very simple. That's what a class does. It just makes it simple to read what your intention is. Once that happens, once you send the chat request, OpenAI would respond with something. And that response is actually an object. And that object has a lot of moving parts. We know what the object looked like. And because of that, I just put in here what I want from that object. So from my object, from my response, I'm going to get a response part that has multiple choices. From those choices, I'm going to pick the first choice. And from that first choice, I'm going to grab the message content. Does that make sense? Again, that's what an object does for me. It makes it easy for me in one line to read multiple actions, and I can just read it straightforward. I just want the response, choice one, grab the message content of that. And when I grab that, I want to put in my message box. So long as my authentication token here is valid, I would assume that it would work. Let's test it. So I'm going to try and run this file, hopefully. Let me see if it allows me to do that. Okay. Here, let's see if it authenticated. It authenticated just fine. So my token is still valid. Now I create my messages. And notice it is an object. It's just an object that contains that's what it is, a JSON string. Now I'm going to send that request to ChatGPT for Turbo. Hopefully that model is still valid, because they usually get objects, phased out, but it's still valid because I got a response. You see, now this is the response object. Look at how many things there are, you see? So I don't want all the data. I just want the message content. And when I hit play, I will get an answer. And as you can see here, the Empire State Building located in New York is whatever word. Do you see that? So that's how you use the API. It is just a 4-step approach, as you can see. It looks complicated at first, but then over time, for example, this, I don't have to type it over and over again. I can have a GUI in which you type a question, and that question, I'm just going to put it right here. I don't have to type the whole messages over and over again. I just have to change this text. Look at this. I'm going to change this. Yeah. Give me the size in meters. All right. I just changed the text here. I didn't touch the code. Now, if I go ahead and run this code, let me see if I get a message box. And this time the message box says, yeah, it's the same, but this time it only gives me meter.
But Ray, imagine this. Now, this is a dumb example, but it's closer to what you were doing. Imagine he didn't say, can you change it back to what it was, the original one, Isaias? And let's say you took the response from what you got back and sent it back to ChatGPT saying, okay, hey, always convert this to meters.
Okay.
So that would be the next step. Now, obviously, Isaias just showed you can include that in your original prompt, right? But my point is,
right,
in the example you were showing us, there was multiple stages. You're doing multiple things, right? And that's what I'm just trying to show you. That's how easy it would be is, hey, I'm gonna ask a question, I take the response, I push it back to whatever tool I want with different instructions, right? With the next step.
Now,
okay, that's a good starting point.
Change all units to metric. So here,
or Spanish.
How tall in, so how tall in, let's do it in Spanish. So translate this to Spanish, and I have to pass it what we got before. So this, I'm gonna pass it in a new line, for example. And now, again, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the call. I'm gonna pass it the messages, and I'm gonna get a response. And that response, we're gonna have it in Spanish. So let's have 2 message boxes. So one of them is right here. So what is happening? Well, I have one step in which I ask a question in English. I'm gonna get that response. But that response, I'm going to send it back to AI with a different prompt, which says, hey, translate this to Spanish, right? And then I will see that response. And I can add as many steps as I want, like this, all right? So let's take a look at it. Let me run this guy. We got the first answer. So as you can see, we got the first one in English, right? And then when I hit OK, you will see that after AI works with it now I got it in Spanish as well. Now, here's the point that I was trying to make, Ray. The tool that you're working with limits which steps you can take. Because, for example, I don't know if they allow you to translate to a different language. Do they?
Yeah,
I don't know if they do.
Yeah, I would create a node. I would create a node that would say, I
Okay,
would create a node that would say, what is
perfect.
what is
This is the node right here. Look, this is the
yeah.
same. This is the node. In here, I create what action I want, and it could be anything. So every time I have a message, I just change what I want done, right? And that is what they are doing on the background. They're just making it pretty for you and easy to understand. While in here, we're just dealing with text. For me as a programmer, this is easier. And also, it gives me more flexibility about doing whatever I want and having full control. While
Imagine
in that window, I have to do what they allow me to do. That's it.
Imagine, Ray, because we've noticed Claude is better for whatever reason at OCR than ChatGPT. Well, maybe I want to do OCR with Claude and then switch model, entire companies and what we're doing to ChatGPT, right? It'd be easy to just pass that content into whatever we want. You get the point?
Right.
Which I
So
don't
then-
think probably, maybe you can do that, but maybe I don't know on that one.
Right, and then for us, that simply means there's a different library that I could use. So now I could have Claude here, and I can now copy the location of Claude, and I say include Claude. Okay, I just included Claude. I would do the same things if not Claude, and see if I can authenticate. There it is. And I would do the ini read, but this time for Claude. I don't know if it is API for Claude, right? I don't know how I would do it, but it would be very similar because the class that I'm using is going to have very similar ways of working. And then I would say, if I'm going to do an OCR, I would use Claude. And in the other hand, I will use OpenAI. And I can use both at the same time if I want to.
Or maybe you want human intervention to make a choice between something or to write something, right? It makes it very easy to add that kind of functionality.
Okay. Can I get this?
Yeah, well, I linked already in Telegram. I gave the two videos. There's one I found that we went through Claude from a hero call, and then one on an older one of ChatGPT. I don't know if we changed our model since then, but it'll be overall pretty similar.
Very similar, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
But see,
So,
none of that stuff that we just showed you there is really like the API, performing an API call, right? That's using the class that we created. They use APIs to do it, but you don't need to learn that.
Oh, that's basically a way to say that is the class is simplifying the API calls, because API calls are really complicated, right?
Yeah.
So the class just simplifies that for you. If you learn how to use the class, you don't have to even care about how the API call is made, because it would do it for you. That's it.
right. Okay, good. Okay, that's a step forward. That's very edifying. You have edified.
Yeah, if you look at like our AI and OCR tool, now I don't remember if we check the box to say translate in another language, if that does a second call, but
I think it does, yeah.
transcribe and summarize, we first take your file, we use a local copy of FFmpeg to rip it to an OGG, an audio file, whether it's a video or audio, converts it to OGG because it's compressed. We then send that off to an AI tool to transcribe it, but then we do other stuff on the summarize, right? Those are done in different API calls. And that's where it's kind of like what you're doing in that nesting, but we have a GUI that we can choose things in between, right? Which really makes it very flexible.
Got it. Yes. Okay, of interest. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
How did you compose?
Another thing for me to learn.
Well, I think Dale was the question regarding this.
Line 29, you had like the different fields and things. Do you need something like VS Code to come up with that?
We're gonna have to see an example. What you're saying the system.
He was talking
what
about line 29.
Yeah, what he just showed. Not the message box, but like the res.response, choices, one.message.
Yeah, what happens with that?
Well, how do you,
How did I figure that one out? Okay.
How is it getting populated?
well,
Right. So
No, how do you create it? How would you know to create it with those fields?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So first of all, here, when I do the chat, one of the things that it does is that I grab the messages, send it back, and they send us a string. It's just a piece of text that we parse it from JSON, and that completion, which is parsed, then becomes the answer that I get as an object, right? And that object, it comes like that from ChatGPT. So they send it like that to me. I'm just converting it into an AutoHotkey object, all right? Now, when I run it, when I run the code, I can stop the code like this, and I can take a look at the resource variable like this, and I can look at all the things that they sent me. This is all they sent me. So they told me how many tokens it was sent, what the messages are, the response from ChatGPT, what the format is. So those are the settings that I had set and so on. I don't care about none of those settings. Let me look at the messages. The messages here, I have messages, I have one of them, and in there I can see the message that I sent them. Look, how tall is the Empire State? So when I talk to them, they send me back what I sent them before. So that's one of the things. But when they send stuff back, they have a response field here. You see that one?
Yeah.
That one is the one that I'm looking at. And I say, okay, so from the response, what can I see? Look at that. I can see the system fingerprint, the type of object it is, which model, and so on, when it was created. This is the choices. You see response choices? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yep.
choices here. And in the choices, I can have multiple choices. Sometimes I can have 5, 3, 1. In this case, I only have one. And I can at least guarantee one. Whenever they are replying back, they should at least reply with one, right? So I can hard code the one in there if I only want that one answer. But when I open that, I will see, oh, look, why the thing answered. It answered because it stopped. There might be other reasons why it stops, like invalid answer, not enough tokens, or whatever. The stop one is the normal one. As I don't care about that, I don't use it. If I wanted it, I could do that. I could say, why did it stop? Why did it stop? If the answer finish reason is not equals to stop, then tell me why, right? I can go ahead and look at why it stopped the way it stopped. I want to know, oh, if it is not a normal reason for stopping, then I can look at it. You see, that's what I'm doing. And I'm just looking at the object. And if I keep going, so from number 1, I can look at message. There it is. This is message. And from the message, I can get the content. I can get the role. I could get annotations if there are any. If the reason, the finished reason was refused, I would see why it refused right there. It would tell me, oh, you're asking a question that is, you know, about a very touchy subject, so I'm not going to answer that one. See what I mean?
Yeah. So you need a tool like VS Code to.
No,
Of course. Well, not only that, or their documentation. If you go to the website, you can look at that.
but Site, you can see the object in Site as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's in looking into your class, your object. Sorry, that was referred, but returned to you, and understanding how to manipulate it and look around and see what you need to get. Right. All
Right.
that is there, but you want to, you don't want to be looking at all of it. You want just little nuggets, right, of what you want.
Documentation API. So another way to look at that is looking at the API reference, right? They have an API reference, and in that section, whenever it loads, you can look at, for example, for chat or whatever. Let me see, where is it? Oh.
And this is where, Dale, if if you've been programming all the time, you can do this part. Otherwise, honestly, it's easier to look at, like Isaias was showing you in your editor tool.
And your editor.
Because this you have to understand what to look for and how it's going to show up. And sometimes they'll give you examples, which really helps. Like the example on the right there, really, you go, oh, now I can see how it's going to get, right? And you can copy that code and go to AutoHotkey and write something that'll parse to give you what you want, right?
Right.
But it's still...
So this is exactly the response that they send in a text. It's just text. And again, you can see the ID, you can see the choices again. As this is an array, the first choice will be this one, and so on. Look at the message, look at the content. So I can look at this as a programmer, and I look at it and I know what is coming back to me. So even if I don't have VS Code, I can look at this and know how to reply or get the answer that I want, which is what Joe is saying. Like, I don't think everybody can just look at this and know what's going to happen, right?
Well, I was thinking the stuff on the left. If they don't show that, the reading the stuff on the left, oh, now I understand what I'm looking for. And you can, I know you could do it as I could look at this often and get pretty close, but it's that structured data that actually having it to start parsing it that makes it so much easier.
Now, quick thing on that. Not every website gives you good documentation.
Totally. Yep.
Like at least ChatGPT gives you an example of the response that you might get and so on. But in other tools, you're going to be left to your devices and you have to figure it out. And it is not that bad most of the cases. But again, this is the part that we're kind of like hiding behind the class. So our class does all of this for you, and you just have to make the call easily with how we have been showing before. All right. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep.
Very helpful. Thank you.
And also, not that we would encourage this in any way, but just when we started, Ray, you were talking about getting a JSON file, and I was just trying to say, you know, one is it's a string. Like, think about it as the JSON string, right? As an object, but it honestly, a lot of websites you could have used an XML object as well, right? It's how your data is structured, and that you're feeding it and giving it back. Most of them nowadays use JSON, absolutely, but often you will still at times see XML with API calls, right? And it's just a way that you're formatting your data and how to access it. So Ray, you had another question. Sorry, I just wanted to keep on topic because it seemed like Dale's question was pertinent on that. What was your other question?
Me? No other question.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But yeah, this is why, you know, I kept saying that our API classes for connecting to both Claude and OpenAI, they open the doors for doing amazing stuff. Yeah, you have to understand how to use it, but boy, it's wild because now it's so much easier to do advanced things and do multiple steps of stuff, right?
And that's the other thing, like at this point, as I showed you, even if you just learned the one basic thing, right? Just how to create a message and how to send it, how to get the response back, just with those three things, now you just have to change the message and you get whatever you want. Like you tell AI to do something for you and you just have to get the response that AI gave you back. And just change this part and now it does something else. Translate this to Chinese. Right, that's it. I just changed the whole code now.
Well, and just imagine, this is what we were talking about. You build a script where you select text and hit a hotkey, and it will copy that for you, push it into here for you, and send it off, right? So you save all the steps of actually copying and pasting and doing it, right? It's really easy to do that.
Basically, check this out. So just, Joe, that same example that you just said. Look, I just put here, say, translate this into Spanish, and then just pass the clipboard. I just say a clipboard, right? And I will have this in a hotkey so that every time I press my hotkey, I pass the message. That's it. There you go. I just have something that whatever I copied to my clipboard, I could do it. And I could also say, send Control C here, and I will just have text selected and it will send a copy, wait for the clipboard. And now it waits for the clipboard and then it creates the message and sends it. And then I get the content back that is going to be translated.
Wouldn't you want to delete the clipboard first before the?
Probably, yeah. So a clipboard. And again, what we're just showing you how easy you can get something done so quickly. So right now, for example, let me, I think I hit F5. That's not what I wanted to do. Right. So if I run this tool and I select something and I hit F1, it should go ahead and traduce esto al español. Very good. It just translated it, right? And I can now choose any piece of text.
Right.
Right. So I go to here, just select anything. And now I hit F1, wait for AI, and a message box will pop up with my Spanish version of it.
Yeah.
That's the power of using the API, especially if you know how to use AutoHotkey to your advantage, because as I know how to use AutoHotkey, well, I know how to get access to the clipboard. I know how to send a copy. I know, but notice that I haven't changed anything on my code. I write the code once, I tell AI what to do, and so on, and that's it, you know? So hopefully this is a very good example as to how you can use the class. Just imagine, it's just selected text and I wanted an explanation of it every single time. So I just hit a hotkey and my prompt. So this is for translating, F1 is for translating, and F2 is for summarize. You see what I mean? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Run it.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
that's
So
extra.
let me. Yeah. So I'm gonna step it away. Come on.
I think he's got some out, but yeah, see how easy it is, Ray, to just tweak what you're doing. Once you know AutoHotkey and how to feed the API tool, and then of course you have to decide what you want to do with the results. Do you want to just pop it up on the screen? Do you want to actually save it to file? Do you want to take the next step with it?
Right. And all the time it's cheaper using the API. Am I wrong?
Well, it depends. That depends, right? First off, your model makes an enormous difference. You know, which model you choose, right? That by far makes an enormous difference. With the API, you don't have to spend the whatever fee per month because you pay incrementally on every time you use it, right? So it just depends on how much stuff you're sending to. It's. I don't know what the other approach you were doing. We don't have other tools, right? So it streamlines that part of it. But you could also, you could use actually, let me see. I shared it with the guys this morning because I was thinking about other ways. It's too complicated to get into right now, but I did some research on the pricing for different models, and let me move this out of the way. And I'll show you because DeepSeek is much cheaper than other tools. And even though it's not necessarily as good, but here are the basic input and output costs per million tokens, right? So OpenAI for ChatGPT 4o inputs $5, but outputs $20 per million, and again, million tokens. That's a lot of tokens, right? But the mini, look at how much it goes from $20 down to 60 cents, right? For the mini.
What's
So
input and output cost? What I don't understand.
Well, that's what you're feeding it in versus getting them back. So we're giving it the text, hey, here's text I want you to translate. That counts as we're giving it stuff. And then when it gives us back the translation, that's the output.
Oh, seems like you'd always have both. So
Sure. but they're just showing you the different costs.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it's not saying whether you do only one, right? It's just that they are different prices, right? I might say, I might write a prompt that says, write me a book with 1 million characters. The input's going to be, you know,
Oh,
10
sure.
things, but the output's going to be enormous, right? So
Okay.
you need to understand that there's different prices. But then look at down here with like the DeepSeek. It is the reasoning model was more expensive than non-reasoning one. For the output, it's you know, a fraction of that one. Now the mini, but this DeepSeek is definitely better than this mini from as far as performance goes. And then the Opus 3, wow, that's expensive, right? But the other ones aren't nearly as bad. So back to your question, Ray, about it's cheaper, you know, it all depends also. Now, here's the thing, if you're paying the $20 a month, I can almost guarantee you would run out of being able to ask it stuff before, you know, before you hit the thresholds for the prices in here that would equivalent to $20 a month. Does that make sense? Like, I'm sure they're tied. They limit you on using the browser version based on your tokens as well, right? So you get a certain amount per day, but you could use it quite a bit per day. But this is per million tokens. That's a lot of tokens.
So it's like either you pay for the right to use a certain amount of tokens in a period. You either pay a flat amount or you pay by every time you use
Right.
it this way. And
Yeah. Or both. You know, I pay for both because I do use their API a lot, but I have membership to both because I'm in this stuff a lot, right? I have Grok, ChatGPT, and Claude. So I'm paying for all three of those per month, or you know, the fixed thing. And I use all of their APIs. Actually, Grok, I wrote an API class for, but we haven't tested it.
okay. Okay.
Oh, and we're out of time. But yeah, hopefully that helps and get you started. But you see how crazy powerful it is, right? And it's not rocket science to be able to start using it. But that's why we were showing you have to understand classes over API calls, because as Isaias mentioned, we've done the hard work of figuring out the API call work for you, and now you just have to understand a little bit about using the class.
Yeah,
Great.
there you go.
Great.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.